BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Jonny Pac. And Jonny, you've got a game that I got to try. There's a little bit of time left on Kickstarter. Now you're an old season pro. You've published so many games, but somehow you seem to still be excited about this game here from Bellwether Games, and it's called Lions of Lydia. Beautiful game. Tell us all about it.
All right. Yeah, so that's on Kickstarter right now. It's in the last couple days, so I think it's ending tomorrow. So it's last chance to get in. There's one of those things. There's not going to be a big long catch-all pledge manager thing afterwards where you can do late pledges and do this whole thing. So if you want to get in on it, it's kind of like do it now, and then it'll come out in the fall for retail. So it's aimed for Essen release. Okay, so yeah, it's more of a complexity level. Let's just say that it's a little more complex than Fistful of Meeples. We'll give it that, but it's not like a big sprawling Euro game either, and it does fit in under an hour thing. I've never even run a play test that's run over an hour, I don't think. So it's always under an hour, even at max play count with even slightly slower players. So it's snappy, and I wanted it to be a gateway game. We're part of the gateway group on Facebook, and I like that group.
Say hey to Chuck Yeager. Old Chuck runs a great group over there. Yeah. That's right.
And I really I don't know. I don't look down on gateway games at all. I love them. So it's one of those things where part of me wants to make one, right? So it's and I've kind of felt different in the past where if I've made a big complex game, it's like I want to share that with somebody, but sometimes I can't. I can just open them up and be like, hey, look at all this neat stuff, and some people like this.
Because this is different.
I feel like this is neat
from Coloma and Sierra West. Those are bigger games, longer games, meatier games. And Lions of Lydia, if anybody hasn't checked it out, go to BGG and check out the Designer Diaries. You did a really good job with that one. It's succinct. It talks a lot about it. And one of the things that I liked, you talked about it, a quote, streamlined gateway game. And that's a tough line to walk. Jonny, how did you walk that streamlined gateway game?
So I've been looking at a lot of things I love in gateway games, and somehow how like you could take something that's fiddly or confusing in one game, and then some designer will somehow come up with this thing about iconography, the ability to judge things at a distance, like clear icons, simple colors, wooden components that stand out, and just even one little thing with the game is every card can be upgraded. You get these little engine cards and they do stuff and you upgrade them. And there's a simple trick. It's like the front of the card will gain you a benefit and it'll give you a number of victory points. And when you upgrade the card, you're paying its cost the first time you buy it, and then you have it. Then you pay that cost again on one of your turns and you can flip it over, and it does exactly double what it does on the front. And so you don't have to wonder what qualitative thing changes on the front and back side. You just go, oh, cool, I can double down on this card and make it do twice as good of a thing for me. It's going to be a 2-point card is going to be worth 4 points. If it generates me a red resource, it'll generate me 2 red resources with the same input trigger. So things like that were considered, and even where there could be some crazy cool card that would require a wall of text to read and some combo, those kinds of things weren't even considered in this. It's really been one of those things. If there's a clean and elegant way of doing it, it could make the cut. If there's not, then it needs to go in a different game or just not exist. Right. And so kind of worked off that. And then another thing, main inspiration for the mechanical side was the bag wielding aspect. Is
the bag management. I thought that was a cool name.
It's evolved into bag management. Because originally, when I first started working on it, you could have more or fewer meeples in your bag, and you'd actually build to a degree. But we found that I like bag builders. I love Altiplano. I know that not as many people like that as Orleans. I like that game too. I like Siberia, but I love Quacks. So I like that. And I think one of the sometimes one of the complaints with those games is the kind of evergreen nature of some of the things, or the fact that it's always replenished. You could put a whole bunch of one type of thing in a bag builder game, and it just might not come out at the right time. Or the same thing might come out over and over and over again, even though it feels against the odds for what you've put in there, right? And in a push your luck game like Quacks, it's a ton of fun because you just get to these threshold points and you're just playing the odds, and the crazy things happen. It's either good or bad, and you have a moment. But in maybe a strategic game like Orleans or something, where you got this linchpin piece that won't come out, that can be a little bit frustrating. And so during playtesting this, I would watch people and they go, I put like X amount of this color in there and I just never can pull it out. And you see like, it's been 4 turns and it hasn't come up yet. And I think that they were right in that assessment. Like their frustration was justified. So I wanted to think about like what odds can people really deal with well, and if I thought about bringing it down just to 4 meeples is one of those things where you can cut that pie up in 4 different ways, and it makes sense to people's intuition. If it's all 4 of the same color, that's 100%. If it's 2 of something, 2 of something else, 50-50, right? You just know the odds and you feel the odds. And so, so I wanted people to have that sensibility when they bag. And if they wanted none of something in the bag, they could call that out very easily. Just get rid of that green, and you're not going to have greens popping up and getting in your way until you need them. And so that was a big consideration. And I feel like, again, I would love to introduce more bag manager and bag building to a wider audience through this medium.
The last thing I want to talk about is the wild resources. You made them coins, and I can't think of another. Well, I mean, there's a couple of games that do that, but that was a cool twist to this game where the Lydians eventually come out and eventually start getting these coins, and they really change the dynamic in the game, sort of in that first third. It's almost like a 3-reel movie, and the second reel starts ramping up with more action.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We talked about Porta Negra earlier. Is that it has like an inflection point where the game pauses, and then you do this thing, and it switches over to another gear. And there's other games that have natural points like that, where like going green in Dominion is when you start to buy victory point cards and kind of collapse your engine and run for points. And that's
or you just keep running your engine until the game ends. You know, you could do it that way. Just keep running. You keep building up your engine and never run it like I do. I mean, it's so much fun to build up the engine. You know?
Yeah, and you know, it's one of those things. It's like that's one of the, you know, the engines are great in Dominion, but it's also really neat to see that social dynamic where it's like, how long do you play chicken before you pivot into points? And so thematically, what's going on in this game is you're trading and bartering, and you're getting your basic resources from the lands, and you're buying cards that boost those things. So you're getting your olive oil and such like that, right? And everything has a very specific cost. If I want to get this card and it costs an olive oil, well, I need to spend an olive oil because the source where I'm getting that's what they're willing to trade for me. And that's more trying to reflect a barter system. And as the Lydians come into play, they are the ones that minted the first coins. And so you got this coin currency where effectively, if you think about it, what is what is a coin in currency? It's a wild medium for us for reals. And so where some games might have a premium where you could spend a coin to fudge this, or you could spend a gold to do this. Sometimes they're like that at a premium, but this one really leans into it heavily, where you'll meet the Lydians, the golden meeples. They come into the pool, and you pull them out, and then you start to trade your goods with them, and then you've got this stack of coins. And the stack of coins is 2 things. One, it's wild, which is good, and the other one, it's the linchpin for the purple cards. And purple cards, easiest way to explain them would be like something like the last round in 7 Wonders. You've also got some cards that will score you based on what you've accomplished earlier, like best military or your neighbor's yellow cards, that kind of thing. So in this sense, in order to get big points, you're going to get these conditional scoring cards, and you can't get those without coins. So it's there's no workaround. And so that's kind of that thing where, again, you get that inflection point where you build up an engine, you build up your basic points, you get the stuff, you switch to getting into those coins. And then when you get into coins, it's not just a wild free-for-all. It's now you need to pivot into getting these cards, but these cards need to be validated by what your engine was in order to get there. And the market doesn't replenish, unlike where you're going to see lots and lots of cards coming out. You use a subset of the cards at the beginning, you set it up, you can observe those, no more, no less come out. And so you can actually start to plan and be like, all right, this is where the costs are, these are where these are distributed, and these are some cards maybe I could leverage to get a good strategy here. And that's going to be a little different from game to game depending on what flops. And then you can play to that. And so all that happens, and you know, believe it or not, all that stuff happens in like 30 minutes. So it's a quick arc. We're not talking 45 minutes. You're going to see the first coin trickle in. It's like, yeah,
this is definitely a 1-hour wonder with micro decisions, little tiny decisions that you have to make that flip over really quickly. So Lions of Lydia fits right in there. Hey, there is one thing I wanted to ask you about. what is it like working with Bellwether Games? This is your first product with them, your first game with them. What is it like? This is just between me and you. No one else is going to know about this. Give me the scoop.
Well, we did have the lost episode where I raved about it there, so I can rave about it some more. So,
Okay.
I've been working on with different publishers on different projects and to different degrees, and I've usually have several prototypes that are available at a given time to be acquired. And this was one I don't know, I kind of, not just to be weird, but I kind of fell in love with it. I just didn't really want to just like hand it off and just be like, maybe it'll come out in 3 years. It goes in the back of some company's queue, and then we'll see how it shakes out. I just wanted to make sure it found the right home, right? I wanted it to be brought to the world in a certain way. And so Dennis actually reached out to me and said, hey, do you have any, light to medium Euro games? Because I'd like to do that. And he tends to make like
That's
one
his
game a
jam.
year.
Yeah.
And he puts everything into it. And that was just like, that's one of those passion project things where it's just like, that's exactly how I want to work on this, with somebody who's going to have that attention to detail and care about it as much as I do. And, so even when we were negotiating, I was like, so how's your company operate? What's your future plans? Who does your graphic design? Oh, cool. You do that? Neat. And which artist do you use? Oh, neat. And I looked at Daryl's artwork, and,
Good looking artist. Good looking artist.
He's very versatile, like extremely versatile. And, but you can tell it's his artwork too. He's got his style. So his stamp is on there. And it was just cool. I like the whole package, how Bellwether operates. And we even talking about future, like where do you want to see this game, in a year from now, 2 years from now? Where do you think this can grow and go? And that all just really, like, it struck a chord with me, and I felt good about it. And so I was just like, let's do this. And he took his time, thought about it, and
Johnny,
here
there's
we are.
somebody knocking on your door, man. I don't know if you can see that.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody knocking on your door. Who is that? Oh my God, it's Dennis from Bellwether Games. What a surprise!
Surprise!
Dennis,
I
what
was
are you
like
doing
looking in
here?
the back. I was thinking, is there a reflection in the TV in the back window? Is my neighbor coming over?
No. So yeah, Dennis, we were just talking about the production from Bellwether Games. You have your mic on, Dennis? Yeah, we can't hear you. Hold on. Now we're ready. Hey, Dennis.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry about that. I had you on mute. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Oh, man.
So
We built you up there. What an entrance.
we're visiting with you and Jonny Pac about Bellwether Games production, Lions of Lydia. Still a little bit of time left on Kickstarter. I don't know if you heard all that, but Jonny Pac's been raving about the production. And I got to tell you, you do make one of the most beautiful productions. So in the games that I've had with you. So Lions of Lydia, people can trust that when Lions of Lydia comes out, it's going to have that personal Bellwether stamp, right?
Yes, it will.
How's it been working with Jonny Pac?
Oh, fantastic. I've just really enjoyed it. He has such a great mind for game design in particular. So any issue or problem that comes up with the game, I know that I can take it back to Jonny, and he's going to work on it and come up with way better even solution than any of the ideas that I had. So just the way that he works all the mechanics together, the really simple fixes to the problems that I think some designers would take the problem and just go overboard with complexity, adding extra elements to the game, and suddenly the game becomes something totally different than you expected. And one of the ways that Jonny works is that he's always dialing it back, make it simpler. How can we fix this in a better way that's going to actually solve the problem and not make the game something different?
So while you're here, there was 2 questions that people asked me off screen to bring up with you guys, and I actually talked to, I think, one of them with Jonny already, but I don't know about the second one. With the production, we saw a lot of things that you guys added to plus the game, as Walt Disney used to say. We've seen that. The color issues. One of my guys had a little problem with the stark, not stark, but the the kind of the Crayola colors, the blue, red, green, yellow. That was very popular many years ago. Now we're a little bit more sensitive about color blindness. Do you have any plans for that with the project?
We're working on it. It's not one of our focus during the Kickstarter campaign, but in the post Kickstarter campaign, we're going to be working on how can we tweak the colors a little bit so that we don't have to make major change, but at the same time, it's more accessible to everyone. That is something that we think about, that I'm thinking about every game I'm making, is how can I make it as accessible as possible. At the same time, there's certain limitations to that as far as other colors that are in the game, and how can you navigate those other colors so that you're not making colors that are too similar to related to other elements that are also going on in that play. So that's something I'm working on with Daryl right now, and especially more after we get into the kind of post Kickstarter campaign. time frame. We're going to be trying to just tweak it, probably just small changes to make it more accessible. But yeah, it's in our mind.
Okay, cool. Any last minute surprises for? Is the Kickstarter ending tomorrow? Is that right?
Actually, it's Thursday, so we're just under 48 hours from right now.
Any little surprises? Any gumbo scoop for the next 48 hours?
Well, there are some more stretch goals we haven't revealed yet, so you'll have to kind of stay tuned for that. But we're waiting to see kind of how what funding looks like over the next 48 hours and what we can add reasonably without. We just want to make the right decision at the end of the campaign. So we're going to be watching it really closely now and see kind of what rate of funding we start picking up over this last time frame.
Hey, chat crew out there, look, Steve has posted the Kickstarter link to it. You got Jonny Pac, who's had just some great designs that the Gumbo has enjoyed, and you've got Bellwether Games. Dennis will tell you the story. Brian taught me Coldwater Crown, and we immediately bought not one, 2 copies there at BGG Con because we loved not only I want something that looks good on the shelf and looks good on the table and is still fun. And man, Dennis, you keep knocking it out of the park on every production. Even the sample you sent me, I'm not sure what stage it was that you sent us. It still looked gorgeous on the table. I mean, I don't know if it was a PPC or just a prototype or what, but Jonny Pac, I mean, Dennis knocks it out of the park with these things, man.
Well, we go all out on the prototype. It's one of the main ways that we are promoting the game. So I actually go to the manufacturer and I say, hey, let's do the best quality prototype we can. And it's good for me too in quality control and saying, hey, we've actually gone to the manufacturer already and they can already do all this stuff. So when I go back to the manufacturer, I'm not nervous about, I'm not sure if they can make this piece the way I want it. It's like I already know what they can do because they've sent it to me in a media sample form. So there is going to be some improvement. There is going to be a step up from what you have, but obviously it's close to final what you're looking at.
How much, Thomas wants to know how much input that a game designer has in quality, color schemes, aesthetics, and all that. Now, this is an unusual situation because, Jonny, you're actually a developer. So on other people's designs, you have a lot. But Dennis, in this production, Lions of Lydia, have you guys had a good partnership there? A lot of exchange?
Yeah, actually, quite a bit. One of the things early on that Jonny and I talked about is kind of me keeping him in the loop as far as art pieces are coming in, as decisions are being made. Let's talk about, let's just look at them together and see kind of if we have any collaborative kind of bonus to it. And so we've been doing that pretty much the whole time. Anything that comes in, we've been talking about it, and Johnny's had a lot of feedback that's really made the game aesthetics look better. And so I've been really appreciative of that, as well as just his ability to help with the actual mechanics of the game. So his input has been really useful, and it's honestly made a better overall product for sure.
And that's Lions of Lydia from Bellwether Games. Still some time for the Kickstarter. We're in that 48-hour mark, so we're looking for get out there and support this game. You're going to love the way the production comes out, and of course, if you like Jonny Pac's designs, you're going to get a 1-hour wonder or even less version of a Jonny Pac design. Now we have another.